What's your name? Jeremiah. How you doing? That's a very powerful name right there. You know what that name means? That name is one of the prophet of the Lord had that name in the Bible. Okay, what about you? You come over here. You offended by what I'm saying? I won't bite. I don't have horns on my head. Okay? This is for you. You know you're not good. You're sick. We all are sick and we're trying to get right with how? With this Bible. Okay? Because America have trained us to live sinful lifestyles that's against God. And God is mad at us. Did you know that God is mad at you? My sister over there, come here. You know that God is mad at you? You want God to be mad at you? Okay, I'm going to talk to him. Hopefully you come over. You said your name was Jeremiah. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to identify yourself on this sign right here. Okay?
Judah.
Judah? Okay. What is the name beside Judah? African American, right? What does African American mean?
It means descendant. Like we.
African American is the names of two different white men. Leo Scipio Africanus. Yes, slave owners. He's right. Leo Scipio Africanus and Amerigo Vespucci. This country was named after Amerigo Vespucci. Okay, that was another Italian navigator. Okay, Leo Scipio Africanus. He conquered Africa during the Second Punic Wars. What white people do is when they conquer the lands, they name it after themselves. You understand? For example, they conquered the land of Jamaica and named it Jamaica. Jamaica means land of wood and running water. Okay? They conquered Puerto Rico, they named it Puerto Rico. It means port of riches. Why? Because there's a lot of rich natural resources that's there on that land. So, same thing with America, they did, and they did the same thing to Africa. Okay? Give me Genesis 49, verse 8. I'm going to explain to you who Judah is, who the so-called African American is according to the Bible. Okay? This is how you prove who you are. Come on.
Genesis 49, verse 8. Judah, thou art he whom thy brother shall praise.
So that is the definition of what Judah means. It means God's praise. He said, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Why? Because you see what we're teaching you right now? What we're teaching you is the truth from the Bible. Okay? This has nothing to do with modern day Christianity. You understand me? This has nothing to do with Islam. Okay? This is a phenomenon that's happening. Have you ever read the Willie Lynch letters? Okay. This is, when you get a chance, read it. And in the book, he mentions that the only way to break the cycle that the so-called African Americans are in is if a phenomenon happens. This is that phenomenon. What we're teaching you right now, according to the white man, we're not supposed to know this because they spent billions of dollars trying to hide it from us, okay? And they gave us Christianity. They told us, go to church on Sunday. So they can tell you that Christ is white, God is white, and the angels is white. But according to the Bible, Christ is black, God is black, the angels is black. Okay? We can prove it. Okay? Read that again. Come on.
Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise.
Because Judah is the head tribe. Out of the tribe of Judah is where Jesus the Christ, the black Messiah, descended from. So you are a relative of Jesus Christ. Come on.
Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies.
So what is this talking about? His history. It says, thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. This is giving you modern history. Okay? This is talking about a time period in the United States of America. When Judah's hand, who's Judah? So-called African Americans. When was the so-called African Americans' hand in the neck of their enemies? Wait a minute. Who's the enemy?
So-called, it's called, well, I say like white American people. Also,
The white man is the black man's enemy. Why? Because God made it so. That's why it says from Genesis, from the beginning, this is Genesis. It said, Judah's hand, the so-called African American's hand, will be in the neck of his enemy. That's telling you two things. There would be civil unrest going on, and they would live geographically in the same place. When you examine the Jamaicans, do white people predominantly live in Jamaica? Do white people predominantly live in Puerto Rico? Do white people predominantly live in Africa? No, they don't. Where do they live predominantly? United States of America. So it says Judah's hand will be in the neck. Give me a new battery. Ezra, give me better. It says Judah's hand will be in the neck of his enemy, meaning that they will live in the same landmass. This is talking about a time period.
2 blocks.
When was the African Americans fighting against the white man? When?
During the period of time of slavery back then.
No.
230.
In the time of slavery, there were revolts. You're right, because you had Nat Turner, Denmark, Vesey, and all of them, but that was not on a large scale.
Yes, sir.
You had rebellions that happened in the Caribbean, but that is talking about, that's Benjamin. In the United States of America, when the African Americans, as a race, their hands was in the neck of their enemies. When did that happen? Think back in time.
It's gonna be a long time to think.
You saw Judas and the Black Messiah? You saw that movie?
I didn't watch everything.
All right.
I was looking in the camera.
Check. Okay. This is talking about the 60s. The terrible 60s. Okay? In the 60s, you had a lot of various civil rights movements that was rising up. Okay? The most famous one out of all of them was the Black Panther Party. Okay? You had Malcolm X. Okay? And what were these movements about?
The segregation, basically, how they was treating, how the white people was cheating, the black people was whipping them. It was a whole lot of mess going on. I know what you.
Right. They were generally fighting for the rights of their people. Okay? Black power. The black woman was with him. Black power. There was about nationhood. There was about their race. There was about keeping to themselves and building for themselves. You understand? They were fighting against the white man for the evils that they were doing to our people. You understand? The police brutality that was happening. The Black Panther Party took up arms and they went to go demand justice for our brothers and sisters. The white man could not get away with the evils that he was doing to our people at the time. You understand? Black people were standing up and we were defending ourselves. That's why it says Judah's hand will be in the neck of his enemy. Because Judah wouldn't take ish from the white man. The African American at that time wouldn't take nothing. No, trying to control my words. You know what I mean. Keep reading.
Thy father's children shall bow down before thee.
Because Christ is from the tribe of Judah. Come on.
Judah is a lion whelp.
Judah is a lion's whelp. Come on.
From thy prey, my son, thou art gone up.
Okay, what is the characteristics of a lion?
He's supposed to be a king of the jungle, basically.
King of the jungle, apex predator, leader, dominant, authoritative. This is the characteristics that the so-called African American has. Okay, why? Because he is the head tribe out of all the tribes of Israel that you see on the chart. Okay, that's why everything that the so-called African American does, the Hispanics follow, and the blacks in the Caribbean also follow. For example, who does trap music? So-called African Americans, right? Do Hispanics do trap music now?
They follow him a little bit. It's a little bit.
Right, but I'm talking about the essence of the genre itself. Do they follow that? Yes, they do. Yes, the only difference is it's in Spanish. It's the same thing. Why do they do it? Because Judah did it. Okay, the so-called African American did it. The way you dress, the way the so-called African American dress, the other tribes follow. The Puerto Ricans follow suit. The Caribbeans, they do the same thing. Why? Because Judah, whatever Judah does, the others follow. Whatever the African American does, everybody else follows. Come on.
Judah is a lion whelp.
He's a lion's whelp, a young lion. Because this is the nature that he took on in the 60s. Okay? He took on that authoritative, dominant role in the 60s. You understand? That's why you had different civil rights leaders raising up, and the demeanor that they had towards America was aggressive. It was relentless. It was not backing down. It was about solidarity. It was about black power. It was about uniting. You understand? That's the nature that the so-called African American took on in the 60s. But then it switches and it says something else. Come on.
From the prey, my son, thou art gone up.
From the enemy thou art gone up, meaning you turn from war and you retire from fighting. Okay? It said from the prey thou art gone up. You stop fighting. Why did they stop fighting? Come on.
He stood up. No, he stood down. He crouched as a lion.
So he stopped fighting and then he crouched like a O-line. Read.
And as an old lion, who shall rouse him up?
Why did the so-called African American crouch down as an old lion? Because an old lion don't go to war anymore. An old lion is vulnerable. An old lion, you can take advantage of him. Why? Because he's not in his prime. Okay? If you fight him, he will lose. He's docile. You can take control of him. You can manipulate him. That's the nature of an old lion. Why is God using the description of an old lion to compare it to the African American? Why?
What they saying back then? How?
What happened after the 60s? What pandemic happened after the 60s that destroyed black people in America? Drugs, the crack pandemic. The crack pandemic. They put drugs in our communities. They put guns in our communities. You understand? They infiltrated the organization of the civil rights movements with, by money, drugs, or women. They tried to destroy them from within. That's why I asked you about that movie earlier about Judas and the Black Messiah, because that is a story of how a traitor was able to infiltrate the Black Panther Party and betray the leader. You understand? Who sent them in? The white man sent them in. Why? To destroy the organization from within. To make Judah crouch as a old lion. You understand? Another way they destroyed the so-called African American is guns, gang violence, welfare, and Section 8. What are the types of welfare in Section 8?
That's what we teach you. We teach you black You have to depend on it. It's like really
You have to depend on it. You have a crutch to depend on. It makes you crippled. It makes you incapable. If you already have a stream of money coming in to pay the bills, why the hell work? That's why now, you so-called islanders, you come from the islands and you call the so-called African American, you call them lazy. They dare to come here and call you lazy. Why did they call you lazy? Because you had crack, guns, drugs, pushing your community along with welfare in Section 8. Your brothers and sisters from the islands never experienced that. Yes, sir. They never experienced that. You understand? Only the African American experienced that. That type of destruction from the white man. So that's what made the African American lazy. However, the rights that you benefit from, you come here and you get jobs. You have certain benefits from the government. Guess who made that possible for you? The so-called African American. Why? Because they demanded it in the 60s when Judah's hand was in the neck of his enemy. Come on.
The scepter shall not depart.
I see you motioning to go. I know you have to go. Okay? Listen. You gotta repent. You gotta start keeping the commandments in the faith of Christ. Okay? Knowing that you're an Israelite is half of it. You gotta also apply God's laws. You understand? She gotta apply God's laws. That's your girlfriend? Huh? There's no such thing as girlfriends in the Bible. You understand? If that's a woman you're serious about her, you have to marry her. Because God says the only type of relationship that he respects is marriage. You understand that? How old are you? You're 26? So you have your own place? You live with your mother? She live with her mother too, right? Yeah, that's out of order. You should not be dealing with a woman sexually unless you have your own place. You have to be married. You have to be married, okay? Understand that. You knowing now God is going to hold you to a higher level of accountability because now you know. You understand? First, you got to repent, get your mind right. She has to repent and get her mind right. She got to stop wearing pants because it's illegal in the Bible for a woman to wear pants. It's sin, okay? And God could judge her for that. The reason why we speak on these things and the reason why we speak so aggressive is to urge, if you going across the street, if you see me going across the street and I'm not paying attention, I'm on my phone, and the car is coming 80 miles an hour down the street and the car's about to hit me, how would you communicate to me that the car is coming? You would yell out to me, right? But when we come out here and teach the people, it's from the same perspective. I see that you're about to die and God is about to judge you. You understand? And we're trying to pull you out of that sinful lifestyle. So we have to do it in an aggressive manner. We have to do it in a manner that may come off offensive. Okay? So that's why we teach like that. But you got a flyer, give them a flyer. Give her a flyer. Make sure you read the paper. Don't just go home and put it down and let it collect dust. Read it. You read it too. What's her name? Denise. You got to read the paper too, Denise. Okay? And make sure you learn for yourself and start to apply. As you learn, you apply. You learn and apply. You are the Israelites. You are the children of God. And you have to come back to start keeping the commandments. All right? You understand that? All right. Take care. All right. Give me Matthew 26. Come on.
Matthew 26, verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and pour it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the world, the whole world, there shall also that this woman have done be told for a memorial of her.
Right, so this is a black woman that Christ said, make mention of her every time you teach. A black woman, a righteous black woman. This is the example that you need to look up to, and not Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and all these ratchet hoes. Okay? We have righteous sisters in the Bible that you can look up to, all right? So with that, we say shalom. Men of Israel! Who's the king? Who's the king?
Christ.
What time is it?
What time?
What time is it?
What time?
Who are you?
Israelite.
Who are you?
Israelite.
Who are you?
Israelite.
Faith, patience, salvation.
The truth.
Faith, patience, salvation.
The truth.
Faith, patience, salvation.
The truth.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord.
Above his might.
His what?
His might.
His what?
His might.
His what?
His might.
His what?
His might.
Voila.
We used to scream black power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.